Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
The opposition in Trinidad distanced itself from an alleged assassination plot against the Attorney General. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline from Monday, October 21st, from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The Opposition United National Congress, UNC, has denied any involvement in any plot to assassinate either Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley or any member of his administration. And opposition leader Kamala Prasad-Bissessar has labeled Rowley's latest claim of a plot to assassinate Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi Emailgate 2. Speaking at a public meeting of his ruling People's National Movement last Friday, Rowley linked opposition operatives to the alleged plot and warned citizens not to consider the threats a joke. In a statement responding to Rowley's claims, Prasad-Bissessar charged that the Prime Minister is aware that he cannot win the next general election fair and square, and this was a last-ditch desperate attempt to fool the electorate next year with a sequel of Emailgate. As you may recall, Emailgate related to the disclosure by Rowley in 2013 when he was opposition leader of 31 emails that allegedly showed communication between some government ministers and Prasad-Bissessar, who was Prime Minister at the time, in which there was a plot to undermine the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Judiciary, and the media. The matter was closed earlier this year after 6 years of investigations by police, the Integrity Commission, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Police Commissioner Gary Griffith has confirmed, though, that an alleged plan to kill the Attorney General is now being investigated, and he says with an intense election season about to start, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is taking threats very seriously. We get more in this TV6 News report.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is actively investigating the threat on the life of TNT's Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi, and that threat was made within the past 3 months. Police Commissioner Gary Griffith tells TV6 News the police are making leads on the plot and are investigating not just the person contracted to make the hit, but also the mastermind planning, funding, and ordering the act. The public first learned of the plot when the PM took to the podium at his party's post-budget discussion in Belmont on Friday evening, warning the country and his supporters of dirty tactics and desperate attacks. He questioned if there were any who doubt National Security Minister Stuart Young's claim that the opposition was in contact with known criminals.
Let me remind all of you that somebody somewhere in this country killed Selwyn Richardson. And up to this day, that matter has not been solved.
The PM recalled the attacks he faced while he was opposition leader.
One of the things they did, before I was married, I had a child with a girl in Tobago. UNC operatives went to that woman and offered her money to go on affidavit to say I had raped her.
Dr. Rowley said when attempts to assassinate his character failed, attempts were made on his life.
The first killer refused and determined that somebody has to know this, and went and told a government official. The government official came and told us. We told the police.
The second attempt, he says, was made to contract someone to complete the job.
While we're dealing with that, they went and found another one. He too refused. And by this time, Special Branch was involved, and Special Branch knew about it.
Contacted today, Commissioner Griffith recalled when threats to then opposition leader Dr. Rowley's life were made. He says, quote, "I was then Minister of National Security. I recall intensifying his security detail, and closer to the election, even that was heightened," end quote. Around that same time, sources suggest 2 other threats were made on the lives of a now sitting minister and a high-profile member of the PNM. Pointing to the 27 threats made to his own life, Commissioner Griffith says police must determine if threats are idle, if they are individual rants, or if they are orchestrated and deliberate. He says, quote, "We are taking threats going into the election campaign very seriously. We will ensure there is proper policing. I've requested from parties listings of dates, times, and venues of the events to ensure there is a police presence," end quote.
Well, political scientist Professor John Laguerre says that in the midst of talk about the assassination plot against the AG, Prime Minister Rowley brought back up the issue of death threats he'd received for political mileage.
When the base of a political leader becomes endangered, either because people have begun to drift or for some other reason, there is need to recall them to their loyalties to the political leader. And one way of doing it is to show that the leader is in danger. So it's not unusual, and these are the kinds of events you associate with elections, especially general elections. But in the present context of Trinidad, it looks like what the campaign is really about the general election.
Laguerre predicted that there will be a lot of mudslinging as the two main political parties try to poach voters from each other. And he said if an election were called today, it would be a dead heat between the PNM and the UNC. Police in Jamaica are reporting a decrease in murders in the troubled parish of St. Catherine. That area is currently under a state of emergency, which was imposed to curb serious crime. But while gun crime is down, lawmen say robberies and break-ins have increased. We get more in this report from TVJ News.
It is traditionally one of the country's more troublesome police divisions, St. Catherine North. But now its fortunes have improved. For example, there were 74 murders in the division as at mid-October. At the same stage in 2018, there were 82. The gain started with the imposition of a state of emergency, which Commanding Officer Superintendent Wilfred Campbell said helped them remove several wanted men from the streets.
We would have arrested and charged a whopping 480 persons. Right? That's a record almost. We would have seized 5 firearms along with 467 rounds of ammunition. We executed a number of warrants throughout the division, but what is particularly important is that the wanted persons wanted for murders and shootings, we would have captured 11 of them.
In addition, the police say they continued the squeeze on 2 major gangs operating in the space, and it's helping to reduce extortion. But the knock-on effect is an uptick in robberies and break-ins as gangsters get more desperate. Since January this year, robberies are up 14% in St. Catherine North, and break-ins have increased by 40% when compared to the same period last year.
We would have started to see some increase in property crimes, because what happens is that once you start curtailing the murders and the shootings, then the property crimes are gonna raise their ugly heads on you, right? So you start removing people or controlling the public spaces, and then people are going to start targeting persons, homes, and other places.
Areas such as Linstead, Shelter Rock, and Thompson Pen have been experiencing flare-ups in robberies and shootings recently, and the police say they will continue to track down the crime producers. But they need law-abiding residents to help find the targets.
Students from the Faculty of Law and Economics of the State University of Haiti are continuing a hunger strike to force President Jovenel Moïse out of office. It began with 15 students, but 4 of them opted out of the protest that entered its second week on Monday. The remaining 11 students, including 2 women, have vowed to continue the hunger strike, insisting that they are clear in their demands. One of the students said they will not eat until the president hands over the key to the National Palace. The students said they were all ready to sacrifice their lives for the betterment of the country. The students have been posting handwritten messages on the walls of the university where they have been holed up. The actions by the students came after thousands of people took to the streets on Sunday for the second rally organized by a group of artists demanding that Moise, who came to power in 2017, demit office. Meantime, religious groups say they will hold a silent march across the country on Tuesday, warning of an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. A statement from the Haitian Religious Conference says the situation is the result of a much deeper crisis affecting the foundations of the people's coexistence in its political, economic, social, and religious dimensions. The group has been donating blood to the Haitian Red Cross, visiting hospitals for the delivery and collection of drugs and equipment. Meanwhile, teachers' unions called on members to stay away from classes on Monday and participate in a peaceful march to demand the resignation of President Moise. The political and economic crisis in Haiti was triggered by the publication in January this year of a report on the Venezuela-funded Petro-Carib oil initiative. Moise has denied any wrongdoing and has named former Prime Minister Evans Paul to head a team to meet with stakeholders to discuss a way forward. Still to come, depositors of Susu savings in Grenada are now required to declare the source of their funds. We'll have the details of that story and more after the break. We continue in Grenada, where the Financial Intelligence Unit, the FIU, has established guidelines for people who are depositing money obtained through the traditional form of savings known as Susu. Susu is a form of savings in which several people each contribute a specific sum of money into a pool for a specific period. The FIU says the guidelines are created as part of its efforts to combat financial corruption and money laundering. Financial institutions already have the right to ask for the source of funds once a deposit is 10,000 EC dollars or more, but smaller deposits within a period can be flagged within the internal system of the bank as one of concern, and that will require a declaration. Head of the FIU, Tafawa Pierre, says the proof includes a document from the leader of the Susu confirming that the person participated, the number of members, and other documents that would confirm the money was not gained contrary to the money laundering laws. He says once a trend is observed and it is deemed to be at high risk or an avenue to facilitate money laundering, the FIU is mandated to develop guidelines for that subsector. One Trinidad charity highlights the need to focus on individuals suffering from breast cancer rather than just the disease. And students in Belize get a lesson in good hygiene. Marie-Claire Williams has the details of those stories in this week's Newsline Health.
As we know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Indeed, across the world, the campaign to raise awareness of the disease has been successful. But how much attention is paid to the actual patients and the way they are perceived by society? One charity in Trinidad is seeking to change that.
We have a culture, and we have to acknowledge it, of being curious. Sometimes we're curious in a cruel kind of way too, where we might have known that a woman had surgery, and we might start looking at her with more critical eyes, and she does feel uncomfortable. We have to change those lenses.
Founder and CEO of Miss Brafit Limited, Nicole Joseph Chin, also wants greater consideration to be given to the economic impact of cancer.
Many times we don't think of cancer in the workplace and how it influences and impacts on productivity, and how productivity can be declined, and how that can actually impact on a national productivity level and a gross domestic product. We don't look at the economics of cancer.
Students in Belize have been learning more about proper hygiene. It was part of the observance of International Infection Prevention Week, which was held under the theme, Vaccines Are Everybody's Business. Infection control nurse Lourdes Heredia stressed that prevention is always the first defense. And according to her, it starts with hand hygiene.
Hand hygiene means cleaning your hands as often as possible, and we can do that by cleaning with soap and water or using an alcohol-based hand rub. In the healthcare facility, we recommend the WHO, the World Health Organization, 5 moments of hand hygiene, which has to do specifically for healthcare. Once you're with the patient, there are 5 different moments, 5 different times when you can or you should clean your hands. However, in the community setting, we still recommend the cleaning of hands as often as possible, especially before eating, after using the bathroom, which is the key to preventing certain infections.
Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Health.
Ahead in sport, West Indies' new white ball captain promises there will be no insularity under his watch. That story and more after the break. Stay with us.
In Tobago, the name Martha Archer is almost synonymous with the word netball. The Bonaccord native has been involved in the sport for decades, starting as a player at age 9 before branching off into administration. Mrs. Archer served as the second vice president of the Americas Federation of Netball Associations regional body for 24 years. For her devotion and commitment to advancing the sport in Trinidad and Tobago,
When you think of what we went through with Hurricane Irma, you had to be able to recognize what are the things we need to do to cope with the aftermath. The psychological trauma, to me, is probably the most telling on a lot of people.
Preparedness is the key. So when people are prepared, when people have what their resources in terms of how they can cope with the disaster, they're better able to be able to return to their normal life. They're better able to make decisions that are informed for themselves and for their family, and then for their community. Be ready, look, listen, and link.
Time for sports now. Newly appointed West Indies white ball captain Kieron Pollard won't be standing by and allowing insularity in selection during his tenure. In fact, he says it will be eradicated during his time at the helm of the regional squad. The Trinidadian will oversee his first assignment next month when West Indies take on Afghanistan and India in 3 T20 internationals and 3 one-day internationals. And after participating in his first selection meeting, Pollard said he was focused on ensuring that performance and not nationality would determine the composition of teams going forward.
One of the major things, we spoke about is the insularity that has been going on in the Caribbean, and it's something that, we want to put a stamp out of. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you're from, what part of the islands you're from. Once your performance is there, you fit into the dynamics of the team, you fit into what we are looking for, you're going to be selected. Sometimes it veer towards where you're from is unfortunate as maybe a home captain or a coach or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, we will try to pick the best team. And me knowing myself, how I go about things, and it's something that I've been preaching since the franchise system started in the Caribbean T20, before the CPL, that, the bigger picture is the cricket. And, whichever persons, are doing well, they're going to be selected. And I have it within myself in terms of my principle and my sort of integrity to always go out and try to pick the best players no matter what part of the island they're from. So
Pollard has replaced Jason Holder as one-day skipper and Carlos Brathwaite as T20 captain and takes over a side struggling in both formats. Currently, West Indies are ranked number 9 in the 50 overs version, following on from their disastrous World Cup showing earlier this year in England, and are also 9th in T20s, even though they are reigning world champions. Pollard conceded that helping the Windies improve their fortunes would be a challenging task, but he said he was ready for the pressure associated with the captaincy. Former batting maestro Brian Lara believes the West Indies remain a feared side in the shortest format, but will not be among the favourites for next year's T20 World Cup in Australia. He said, quote, "Whatever tournament the West Indies are going to, they'll never be favourites at this point in time, even when we won the 2 tournaments in the past," end quote. The former West Indies captain pointed out, though, that there are a lot of young players coming into the team who are very good. According to Lara, the talent is there, and I've always said in the past that the West Indies have some of the best talents in the world coming through. What we do with that talent, how we harness that talent, is the most important part. I reckon that the next 8-10 months before the World Cup, there will be a lot of planning. You may even see some new faces coming through. If you listen to any of the teams in the world or captains, they're very, very wary of the West Indies. They never ever take us for granted, which is a good thing. So hopefully we'll make a good showing coming to the World Cup, end quote. The T20 World Cup is set for October 8th to November 15th next year. West Indies all-rounder Andre Russell and off-spinner Sunil Narine snatched top prize at Sunday's draft for next July's inaugural The 100, a new 100-ball cricket tournament. But veteran T20 star Chris Gayle missed out after being snubbed by the 8 franchises. Russell was snapped up by Southern Brave and Narine by the Oval Invincibles, both for £125,000 sterling, as franchises spent several hours filling 12 spots on their 15-man squads. Russell's acquisition by Southern Brave will see him link up with England's Barbadian fast bowling sensation Jofra Archer, who was earlier this month unveiled as the franchise's marquee signing. Archer had actually been hoping for Russell on his squad, and after the all-rounder was chosen, he said he was looking forward to playing with him.
Grew up watching him play a lot of cricket, and just glad I'll be able to get to pick his brain.
Russell, one of the most in-demand T20 players across the globe, said he was also looking forward to the new experience. He admitted being nervous being in the draft and the new competition, which he says has a lot to offer.
I'm just looking forward for everyone to be sharing the same dressing room, same bus, and winning, celebrating together.
Well, going back to Gayle now, he went on board, one of the notable omissions, along with fellow West Indies star Dwayne Bravo and Sri Lankan icon Lasith Malinga. The left-handed Gayle has been the most successful batsman in the shortest format with 13,051 runs. The former West Indies captain is the only player to pass 10,000 runs in the format, but he is in the twilight of his career, having turned 40 last month. The 100 tournament will have a Caribbean flavour, however, when these limited overs all-rounder Fabian Allen, former Test fast bowler Ravi Rampal, Barbados-born England star Chris Jordan and Bermudian Delray Rawlins are also set to feature. Bermuda have a day to regroup after a third successive defeat left their hopes of securing a place in next year's ICC T20 World Cup hanging by a thread following a 45-run qualifier defeat against Kenya on Monday. Bermuda will hope to kickstart their campaign on Wednesday when they face Namibia, who lost their opening two games. After winning the toss at the ICC Academy, Kenya owed their first win of the tournament on a wearing pitch to 24-year-old Indian-born Dhiren Gondaria, who rode his luck with an unbeaten 85 from 67 balls to lift the African side from 66 for 4 after 12 overs to 138 without further loss. In reply, Delray Rawlins, who made 37, and Gennaro Tucker, who made 22, rallied Bermuda after another poor start with a fourth wicket stand of 58, but they both perished in the space of 4 balls as the innings petered out. Experienced leg break bowler Collins Ubaya claimed 4 for 27. Bermudian Flora Duffy produced another fine performance towards the end of a shortened season by winning the Beijing International Triathlon women's race on Sunday. The 32-year-old, who returned to action in August after a foot injury sidelined her for 12 months, finished the Olympic distance race in a time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 54 seconds to place 6th overall and almost 2 minutes clear of her nearest female rival. Lucy Hall of Britain was the second woman across the line in 2 hours, 6 minutes and 52 seconds, with a fellow Briton, Non Stanford, coming third in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Duffy's goal is to win gold at next year's Tokyo Olympics and add to Bermuda's medal collection. Heavyweight boxer Clarence Hill remains the only Bermudian to win an Olympic medal. He got a bronze at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Hi, I'm Brittany Dixon, and you're watching Finding Fit, the show I pair up one client with 2 trainers. Trainer number 1.
Oh my gosh.
It's about fitness, comedy.
You know, I can do this all day, you know.
Drama.
In future, we cannot be late.
Inspirational stories, and so much more. You are gonna love it. You can catch Finding Fit prime time this fall on CaribVision.
In Tobago, the name Martha Archer is almost synonymous with the word netball. The Bon Accord native has been involved in the sport for decades, starting as a player at age 9 before branching off into administration. Mrs. Archer served as the second vice president of the Americas Federation of Netball Association's regional body for 24 years. For her devotion and commitment to advancing the sport in Trinidad and Tobago,
as a small business owner, you have to make sure your technology is available and operational at all times. But what happens when your network crashes, your email goes down, or your user systems get a virus? You may try to fix the issue yourself, but you can end up making the problem a lot worse. At Digital Networking Solutions, we're more than just people who try to fix your computers. We monitor, maintain, and support your IT systems so that you can focus on growing your business to its fullest potential. When you sign up for one of our IT support plans, we get familiar with your IT environments beforehand, so we can manage it proactively as if it were our own. Your business deserves the best IT services available to ensure it functions to its maximum efficiency. So give us a try today. Email or call us, and we will give you a free network assessment to determine whether now is the time for your small business to adopt Digital Networking Solutions for a smoother, more reliable network experience.
And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport round the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com, and for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and good night.